Final update. My parents refused to pay for my college tuition, so I asked my grandparents to pay for it, but this made them angry and they cut me off saying that I have ruined their reputation. I told them that they had different values and opinions compared to me, but I had no shame in taking money from my family, especially when they were offering to help me out. I feel bad accepting the fact that we were now not as financially stable as we used to be and I needed external help to get by. Also, I was going to return the money to my grandparents eventually once I had started earning, and so I did not find anything morally wrong about what I was doing. They refused to accept that and they told me that I had to do as they said or they would cut me off forever and never speak to me again if I took money from my grandparents. They think that I was very sneaky and betrayed their trust and ruined their reputation, none of which seem fair accusations to me. They are putting me in a very difficult spot right now, and even though it has been a couple of days since our fight, I have not yet been able to come to a conclusion about what I should do. My parents have been refusing to talk to me and any time I enter a room or try to speak to them, they just start ignoring me and pretend like I'm not even there. It's really hurtful and I don't think it's worth it. Update 1. Hi, thank you so much for the words of advice and the overwhelming support that you guys have shown me. I really did not see this coming, but most people in the comments believe that my parents are being unreasonable and I think that you guys are right. Some of you are calling me a doormat for even wanting to stay with my parents after everything that they have put me through or even quitting my job. I don't understand how that works because I'm literally not even old yet and I love my parents. That's not something that I will deny. Maybe in your world, people can just get up and leave when they hit a snag, but for so many years my parents have treated me like a king and have provided for me. I wasn't going to just abandon them and start fighting with them when they were in a tough position. I will agree that what they did was not right and it was completely unreasonable of them, but that being said, I couldn't leave my parents. I don't think it's right to give me so much hate just because I, as a 17-year-old, wanted to be with my parents and try to work out the issues that we are having. Anyway, that being said, I did not see any other option than to just tell them that I was not going to back down and I was definitely going to take the money from my grandparents and go to college because all the other options were not things that I could work around. I was not willing to take a loan and I was not willing to work through college. If my grandparents were willing to help me, I did not see any valid reason to refuse them. I respected them and their opinions, but I had my own set of beliefs and I was not going to compromise to protect their so-called pride and reputation. I had to give them a speech while they were in the living room pretending to not hear me, and they did not react to anything that I said, but at least I got it off my chest and I said to them whatever it was that I had to say. Now the ball is in their court and they can decide whether they want to accept my decision or if they want to continue behaving the way that they have been so far. Either way, I am doing what I had decided I was going to do and they cannot change my mind. Update 2. It has been 2 weeks since I announced to my parents that I was not going to change my decision. Certain things have happened in the past 2 weeks and right now I'm living with my grandparents. My mom's parents have taken me in for now and I'll get to how that happened. So maybe 3 or 4 days after I had announced to my parents that I was not going to change my mind, my mother finally came around and she told me that if I thought that this was the right thing to do then she was not going to hold it against me. She came into my room really late at night and kind of broke down. We ended up having a heart-to-heart conversation and she told me that she had been really struggling with the cafe and it was my dad who was actually refusing to take money from everybody and that was because he was just unable to bring himself to accept the fact that he needed help. For so long they had been independent and never had to rely on anybody for anything, but now things were different and he was just having a hard time dealing with it. He was too proud to admit that he was not as financially well off as he used to be a couple of years ago. She had tried to convince him several times to do something about this. They could both get jobs, but he refused to shut down the cafe even for a while. She had told him that once they got back on track financially, they would reopen it, but he was not cool with it. He was not willing to take money from his family because he did not want any favors from anyone. I tried to console her since I could understand where she was coming from. Anyway, we ended up hugging and she told me that she was going to support me. The next day, I woke up to the sound of my parents arguing downstairs and when I went downstairs to check what was going on, I noticed that my dad was screaming at my mom and she was yelling right back. He was waving a massive wad of cash in front of her and accusing her of betraying him and lying to him. She was trying to defend herself, saying that she was going to tell him about it but she was just looking for the right opportunity to do so. After a while, I figured out that apparently my mother had sold all her jewelry and she was planning to contribute to my college fund with that money. My dad was pissed because now she had nothing left and he was worried that this was going to reflect badly on them in the future when she would attend parties and events and wouldn't have any jewelry to wear. She told him that he was being superficial and he accused her of being too foolish. I thought that my dad was being crazy and after he had calmed down, I decided to talk to him once and for all. But before I could enter his room, I heard him crying from outside the door and it just broke my heart because even after so many things had happened, I had never heard my father cry. But when I stood outside his room, I could hear him absolutely sobbing like a wreck and my mother was outside in the living room doing the same. I was just so devastated because of what was going on in the family that I did not have to think twice before calling my grandparents. After that, my grandparents arrived and there was an intervention because we as a family really needed to talk. I won't get into other details, but for now, my parents are living with my dad's parents and I'm living with my mom's parents. We are trying to get together every weekend as a family because I don't think it's wise for any of us to be on our own right now, given the mental state that both of my parents are in, and I think it is a really good improvement for my family. I hope things get back to normal or at least close to normal soon enough. Update 3. Hey everybody, it has been a week since I started college and I'm so relieved that this is finally happening. My grandparents are the ones covering my tuition just like we had planned, and my parents are finally okay with it. My parents are back to living on their own. They are trying couples counseling, and from what I hear, things are going well for them. They have finally decided to get help from their parents and allow them to reinvest in the cafe so they can reinvent their business model and try to make it work. I hope that works for them and we are able to see the success that we had before, if not more. I really hope to inherit that, and I want to run it because it has become a piece of my heart. I kind of understand now why my father did not want to shut it even when we were suffering financially. Things are finally looking up for me and I really want to make the most of my college life. I know it has been tough for me so far, but I want to enjoy my life to the fullest. Life is short and we never know what's going to happen next, so right now I just want to live in the moment. I'm really done with worrying about the future constantly. Things will work out, I know that, and I don't want to constantly stress myself out because I know that will never lead to anything good. My parents have already faced it and I don't want to experience life the same way.